Good evening, everybody. We're back to Tyranny tonight. I've had a little bit of a. Sorry, give me a second here. I want to see if I can. Let's see if I can align my microphone a little bit better. Right. And then. Let me deal with my password too. But yeah, so I did a silly thing and actually played video games for fun on my own time. Uh, some of it was also setting up for um, a couple of future projects. But an odd result out of this is when I think about. So on Friday we did. Um, Friday we did Cyberpunk, which I'm very happy I went back to, but it's another set of stories. And then there's everything that I did over the weekend. I'm really feeling a bit lost in terms of the overall story. I know we had a pair of disfavored that we were going to talk to eventually. I just don't recall what the next step was going to be, or maybe it was that we were going to talk to the two of them in front of Cairn. So here's what we can do. We can. Yep. Well. Okay. So we're definitely looking for the last spire. One of the spires located in the Stone Sea is known as the Aurora Spire. However, the region is teeming with beastmen. The Edict of Stone crumbles all known paths to it. You will need to find another route. So far as I can tell, we need to progress. We need to move through the game somehow to get the other route. And given that we've exhausted our options in this region, I'm thinking that means that we basically need to progress the main story. So Trial of the Archons. We'll take a second here and just recap. I figure maybe once at the start of the stream isn't so bad. So a Trial of Archons. Tunon is displeased with the chaos that emerged from Vendrian's well and believes that one of the warring Archons may be principally responsible for the civil war that now grips the Tiers. As you travel the Younger Realms, take note of any evidence of negligence, incompetence, or outright treason found within the disfavored or Scarlet Chorus. Evidence against a graven Ash. All uncovered evidence will be listed here. During the conquest, Ash sent his soldiers to march on Sentinel Stand, even though the edict was imminent. Disfavored soldiers wanted the Steadfast Insignia, an artifact lost in the Old Walls. They sent a civilian to trespass within the Bladegrave Old Walls on their behalf. The disfavored attempted to bribe you to get iron weapons during the conquest. Disfavored forces were either unqualified or too undermanned to take Duskwatch by force, demonstrating Ash's misappropriation of soldiers even in his home territory. Ash's daughter colluded with the Unbroken Regent, producing an heir. Disfavored soldiers wanted access to the Twin Rivers Old Walls. Graven Ash was acting on deep-seated animosity against the voices of Nerat during and before the conquest. Merrick, an oathbound scoutmaster, lost track of his own soldiers in the library, and disfavored soldiers encroached on a Scarlet Chorus operation in the Stone Sea, territory legally claimed by the voices of Nerat. In contrast, the voices of Nerat, all uncovered evidence will be listed here. The Scarlet Chorus aided the Unbroken during the Civil War. The voices of Nerat was feeding the stalwart defenders disfavored battle plans during the conquest. Jagged Remedy was conscripting from the Unbroken when his forces were forbidden from the region. The voices of Nerat were using Harachan Bronze to funnel weapons to the Vendrian Guard. At the Burning Library, the censors sought the forbidden knowledge of the Silent Archive, and Foul Murmur tortured disfavored soldiers before the Civil War. So again, there's a few factors that I'm considering, although I do feel a slight bias towards the disfavored. There are plenty of examples of incompetence on the part of the disfavored. Now, I'm not entirely sure. There's something to be said about... I'm trying to remember the thinker, but there was a professor of military history who did an interesting lecture on the practices of the United States sort of officers during the Second World War in contrast to today. Maybe today's a little unusual, let's say. So it's probably a decade-old presentation, let's say. But in the case of the contrast that he draws is that in World War II, apparently promotion and demotion was quite frequent among officers. So it was possible to lose a command when things didn't go well, but that basically wasn't Siberia, that you also had an opportunity to rise up again. And he argued that this was a superior system that produced a higher quality of officer, that there were real stakes. Not to imply, of course, I mean, there's been a lot of war for the past couple of decades. So, it would be very hard to say that there aren't real stakes today, but perhaps if you take for granted that the loss of life is going to be a part of war regardless, the individual stakes to one's career are quite different. And I think the conclusion that he had drawn was that the World War II method was superior. Now, I'm not really in a position to, it's one of these ones where it's an interesting lecture, but one of the things that I would maybe caution in drawing too much from that is that if you listen to one, scholarly lecture, it's probably going to sound really smart, and you will be inclined to agree with its conclusions because you're listening to possibly the first person who's very knowledgeable on that subject present their argument as clearly as they can. I mean, there's some people who are just hacks, and it's really obvious they may have a credential, but they're not someone who's really worth listening to. But maybe as another example here, and this one might be a little controversial, but I think I dislike the idea of not being able to talk about good examples because some people may have an issue with it. But there's I think he's a podcaster now, Victor Davis Hanson. And I was originally introduced to him through a book he wrote. Actually, I think it was Fields Without Dreams, which is largely about farming. But yeah, there's a series of lectures on the ancient Greek world. And Victor Davis Hanson was cited as someone providing an interesting perspective on farming practices in the Mediterranean, specifically among the Greeks, and the sort of the rise of this class that would sort of own its own armor, and the idea of sort of defending your own land. And it was a fairly interesting argument, and I was really interested in it. Now, the baggage with Victor Davis Hanson is he also has a lot of present-day political views, and I don't feel that those are as well defended as his work in classics. But when I also went to look into his work on classics, and I read them in the context of other classicists, they didn't necessarily discount his contributions, but they did point out how he was in fact building on the work of several other people, and so it wasn't necessarily this bolt from the blue, but that in fact there'd been a few people who had been working towards this, and that he's sort of a synthesis of a few ideas. And one of the challenges with his particularly original contributions is that there's subsequent research that actually provides a better fit. So again, this might sound like you are trying to take down a rival because you disagree with their politics, and that's the point where you say, I need to stop spending so much time on social media. This is exactly how it works, right? You have an idea that's presented. At no point does any of this say that, Hanson didn't do scholarly work, but much like, Hanson building on the work that came before and potentially refuting or developing ideas that had come before, there's also work that's been done to give us a clearer picture of the ancient world. But for my own case, right, that was the first, and it's not that I hadn't read about the ancient world, although certainly more so from philosophy rather than military history, and certainly not agricultural practice. But with my first exposure being through this course and sort of hearing that particular example, I thought it was a really interesting insight. I still think it's a very interesting insight. But at the time, all of a sudden, I have this view of this scholar who's just completely opened up the great insights of of the ancient Greeks and their military practice, when in fact it's like most academic achievements, it's moved the frontier out a little bit and rests on the work of others, as well as is subject to perfectly reasonable criticism. And then as far as his modern perspectives, you take it or leave it. I haven't really listened to his podcast. I have heard him on podcasts, and like, if I'm going to listen to a polemic, I think there are better polemicists, is what it kind of boils down to. But as is usually the case with these things, a lot of this, it may have the veneer of politics or information, but this is entertainment, right? And, people are going to listen to the dirtbag left, or they're going to listen to, Victor Davis Hanson or Newsmax or, whatever it is. And, it's just it's not my sort of thing. So it, I kind of, that's where I sort of move back and don't have as many interesting things to say as some of the others. I also have been wanting to read a little bit more of history. Not so much because of this, but this is a good catalyst for it, because, I'm interested in the time period. And in fact, as far as military history is concerned, I've got this absolutely massive encyclopedia of military history. And it's like, it's an old book. It's like from the 1990s. So there's a couple decades of development. But I mean, I don't think they're editing it anymore. I think that's it. But the thing's just a doorstopper. I've had cakes that are smaller than this book. Although I guess there are small cakes, so maybe that's not the best example. But but yeah, like the how do I put it? This has been giving me a good excuse to read more history. And the funny thing is that I've got the things I'm personally interested in, and then I've got the like what I know is good for me. So what I know is good for me is to sit down and read some good overviews, right? So, even some basics. So like Gombrich's Little History of the World, the Penguin, world history. I've got Peter Cavalcaresi's, world history after the Second World War. Again, another one that's getting a bit out of date, but not outrageously so. I think actually J.M. Roberts may have had a 21st history as well. But yeah, so there's a lot of, and then I've got, histories about histories. And then like in terms of just big general stuff, I found a copy of A Study of History in a used bookstore for a very, very reasonable price. So that's the stuff that's probably better for me. But I've also got like the landmark histories, right? So I've got landmark Herodotus and Thucydides and Arrian and Xenophon and Julius Caesar. I think that's all of them. No, there's one other one, but I don't remember. Okay, Thucydides, Herodotus, Caesar, Arrian, Xenophon. Maybe there's two Xenophon? Anyways, I think there's 6 of them. That's the stuff I really want to read, because like they're full of maps and yeah. And then, Diogenes Laertius. Well, I guess that's closer to philosophy, but I always keep coming back to philosophy. And then, Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. Never read that. Want to read that. And then I've got a book on code breaking in World War II. I've got the biography of Stalin that we were talking about before. There's a lot of history to read, so But again, I know the stuff that's good for me, and then I know the stuff that I'm naturally inclined to read, but not as relevant to the game. So, like I said, I have a bias towards the to the disfavored. Although, again, I guess the point I would make here, while I can find genuine complaints with their conduct in the face of outright treason, it's very hard for me to say, okay, yeah, Ash's daughter was, bore the enemy a son, versus the voices of Narat actually actively worked counter to the the interests of Kairos. Sorry, just give me a quick second here. But yeah, anyway, so like again, I do have a slight okay, so I'd put it to you this way: if I wanted to do a run where I was more sympathetic to the voices of Narat, I would point out that a lot of this behavior is quite consistent with the voices of Narat. That Graven Ash's time has passed, but that the structure of the disfavored does not permit him to be overthrown by the strongest, and so the voices of Narat is taking matters into his own hands and essentially doing what he can to ensure that Kairos' forces are not hollowed out from within. So there is an argument that can be made. It's just not one that I am sympathetic to individually or as the Fatebinder that I'm playing. Although I am still kind of a company man. I've been, I've been skirting the rules a little bit, but
on it.
On the loyalty points, I've been pretty much aligned.
Have a look here.
Okay. I found something. I thought there was an option where you could see, like, walkable. That's kind of funny. So it's definitely... Oh, there we go. Ah, okay. I see how it's communicating it. A pearl. Cairn's remains lie here, collapsed in a pile of azulith and stone. The wandering Archon was destroyed by the might of the Edict of Stone. Fatebinder, I presume you are adequately rested. The Iron Guard studies you with a stern intensity. Arrested, huh? Cadus jerks a glance at Radix. Hate to think of what it might mean if that earlier show wasn't a Fatebinder at peak performance. Lieutenant gives you a nod. Glad you're with us, sir. The commander touches a knuckle to his chin in thought. Yes, I must admit I am as well, especially in wake of recent discoveries. It's an honor to be of service. Salute. It's an honor to be of service to disfavored and Graven Ash. Damn right it is. The lieutenant quickly and exuberantly salutes you in return. Me and my shields owe you big, sir, and you can be sure we won't forget it. The Iron God stands rigid and imposing before you, body completely unreadable. Now that you've sufficiently appeased yourselves, maybe we could talk about the matter at hand. While I served Ash at Vendrian's Well, in my stead the Guild succeeded in their mission to locate and guard Cairn's remains. Of course, none of us expected he would have survived. He nods once in admiration of his former master. My Earthshakers commenced studying Cairn, and as a result have unearthed a rather invaluable finding. Cairn yet labors to survive. This, of course, is ultimately infeasible. Even the mountains cannot withstand the force of Kairos' will. However, Archon has retained a considerable sum of arcane energy that my guild could harvest and wield. The lieutenant grunts. According to the general, long as Cairn lives, the edict will keep tearing up the land. That's good for us, bad for the rebels in the chorus. How are the continued earthquakes good for the disfavored but bad for the rebels in the chorus? Simple tactics, sir. Ruined farmland means less food to feed the masses. The disfavored have more supplies stocked, and since there's fewer of us, we'll need less rations overall. Plus, we're made a tougher stock than the chorus and the tiersmen. We'll be fine. Meanwhile, a starving army will be easy prey for Ash. We'll force the enemy to squabble over supply lines while we sack their forts. Basic, barbaric even, but effective. If the Earthshakers harvest and use Cairn's energy, will that not kill him and thus end the edict that continues to plague the land? Your assumption is correct, however my Earthshakers have devised a ritual wherein we can extract and expel Cairn's energy in one concentrated pulse upon his death. It would permanently ravage the land, starving Narat's chorus and the rebel army, enabling us to end the war. The Iron Guard salutes you, steadfast in his devotion. While I would relish the opportunity to study Cairn further, we cannot risk this strategic advantage. We must gain Ash's approval to act swiftly. I hope I'm not the only voice of dissent here, but blighting the land will starve the Scarlet Chorus, not to mention a large part of this realm. I thought we were fighting a war to gain something. It looks like we're causing massive devastation for one dumb victory. Am I wrong here? Verse looks at you with a mixed expression. The Scarlet Chorus should be wiped from the region. These are the consequences of declaring war on the Great General. To be honest, I have some reservations myself. Hate to side with a screamer, but I'm something of a mind to agree. Blight the land, kill the bastards. I'll take the sure victory, but damn if I won't also miss the beauty of a hand-to-hand battle. Loose stones jostle across the ground as nearly imperceptibly impatient. Loose stones jostle across the ground as he nearly imperceptibly, impatiently taps a booted toe. If the lot of you are quite well finished, I'd like to get on with it. This operation is of no small consequence. Before we act, I intend to discuss killing Cairn with Ash. Do what you must. Discuss our plan to destroy the land and defeat the voices of Narat, but be swift about it. The commander nods to you in dismissal. We await your report from Iron Hearth. In the meantime, however, I will account for Ash's approval and see to the provisions necessary for the ritual. See, what he means is, safe travels, sir. Before I go, I'd like to discuss other matters with you. Speak if that's what you desire, but understand this. As the wind cannot move a mountain, so your words will not sway me. Why do you think Cairn betrayed his orders? The disfavored officer scrubs a hand over the nape of his neck, hesitant to answer. Why would anyone? He shrugs. The world's full of vices to tempt a soldier. Booze, brothels, betting. I figure earth magic must be a damn mire of a drug to tempt an Archon from duty. Guess they aren't so inhuman after all. It's with the constant quakes. Cairn was defeated, but he's not entirely dead. So long as his essence remains within his body, the Edict of Stone will remain in place. What can you tell me about Howling Rock Spire? I'll grant you ingress to the base if that's what you desire, but I advise you not to let it become the foremost consumption of your time. My Earthshakers have already extensively examined the site, yet we were unable to uncover more than a cavernous room with some carvings in the floor. Yet Cairn's clinging to the base like it's the only dinghy in a storm-chopped sea. The lieutenant cranes his neck towards the tower's cloud-obscured peak. What do you reckon that's about? Delirium, perhaps? Who rightly knows the effect the edict may wreak on one's mental capacity? He steeples his fingers in thought. Or maybe he knew of a peculiarity we yet do not. Perhaps the dawning spire could have restored him, had he managed to rouse it from its dormancy. The Master Earthshaker looks to the stone giant and then over to the looming spire. Perhaps not. Is there anything we need to worry about? Short on a full-out assault by the chorus, no, but an attack from the screamers could get messy, so I've got my shields keeping watch. Remind me again, the Earthshakers are the arcane arm of Ash's military, correct? An astute observation. Our guild has devoted ourselves to the study of Earth Arcanum, and as such we are the disciples of Cairn, before his unfortunate end. As his prime and closest pupil, it has befallen me to inherit Cairn's legacy. He sweeps a brief, stiff salute. I'm Radix Ironcore, mover of mountains, Iron Guard to Ash, and second master of the Earthshakers. You're both an Earthshaker and an Iron Guard? How did that come to pass? It was not a position that I much desired, to be perfectly frank. I did not envy the life of a soldier, but it was Ash's will that I serve as a commander to better guard the cause of the disfavored. I would have much rather stuck to my studies, and perhaps it would be better suited... it would have better suited us that way. He catches himself, quickly adding, not that I find any resentment from Ash's graciousness. I am... He pauses, looking down, as though searching for better words than the ones that first come to mind. I am humbled to have this honor bestowed upon me. To be an Iron Guard is to be recognized by Ash personally. The Archon of War loves his soldiers to a woman, but he only grants his favor to those who distinguish themselves. There is no greater honor. Let's speak of another matter. So be it. I know we spoke of it, but I can't quite remember. You two are siblings, right? That's right, sir. We're brothers born, if not bred. He slaps Radix heartily on the back, the iron underside of his gauntlet resounding the clang of a funeral bell. I think we've done this before. We share a mother, much to Radix's regret. My brother, impetuous as he is, likes to rely on brawn and chance as he marches through life. I, however, being elder and of higher intellect, am fortuitous enough to have inherited the call of the land. He says that, but I'll be the one keeping his head from getting lobbed off when we're attacked next. If these two get any more sentimental, I'm going to push their faces together as hard as I possibly can. You have separate fathers? Who were they? Don't know, the lieutenant shrugs. But it doesn't rightly matter, does it? If it were just our father, this one could have been rid of me. But you can't deny the lineage of the womb, nor a woman's inheritance, even if I did choose the front lines of a Radix's stodgy guild. That's right. For better or worse, we're indisputably bound by blood, though you wouldn't know, as Cadus exhibits only the most minuscule of mother's traits. You were raised apart from one another? It's not like he was sent away. On account of him being 12 years older and annoyingly apt with magic, he left for Tortillus to study under Cairn. Cadus smacks his brother heartily on the back. Can't say I missed him much. You ever been buried alive, sir? Ah, how long ago. I do remember. Mother was quite proud. Not of that incident. She was unreasonably furious, even though I left you an air hole. It was great honor to study under an Archon. Tortillus, that's in the north, right? Obviously, despite my master's increasingly irrational inclinations in his age, Cairn was a northerner, same as you and I. The Iron Guard settles his stance, peering silently towards the horizon for a moment before he continues to speak. Tortillus is the longest continental mountain range in the Northern Empire. Naturally, it was upon its highest peak that Cairn established the Earthshaker Guild, and where I painstakingly accumulated the potential of my abilities. What was it like studying under Cairn? Excruciatingly arduous, yet edifying. Do you want me to claim he was like a doting father? I cannot. He was ruthless when he needed to be, but above all, brilliant. Speak of another matter. So this doesn't quite work in the sequence, but you say that, but I may yet surprise you. I do not have a disposition of humor, Fatebinder, and I do not often imagine that which is outside the realm of possibility. Make it damn easier for all of us if he did. Farewell. The Earthshakers want to use Cairn to blight the region and starve the Scarlet Chorus, and we're going to update Graven Ash.
Sorry,
now, it strikes me that I can probably just use the teleport. Actually, I didn't need to teleport right away, but let's see if we do the library. Okay, we're still researching that, so... Couldn't even been seen with this piece of junk.
I can't.
The disfavored soldier mutters to himself and stares down the truncated length of a broken sword. Rusted piece of garbage wasn't even worth the trouble of carrying into battle. Better off in the hands of a farmer tilling his field. He looks up and meets your gaze, his posture straightening. You're Tunon's Fatebinder, are you not? It's timely that you happen by. I have a dispute with the Forgebound of Lithian's Crossing. Why don't you tell me about the problem? At the start of the conquest, I requisitioned an iron sword from the Forgebound. Since they settled in Lithian's Crossing, I figured it wouldn't take the span of an entire Kairos-be-damned war to get the blade assembled and ready for battle. They proved me wrong. The smiths only just filled my order, and they did a rush job of it. The blade arrived in camp last week. I could tell at once that it was rubbish. It barely held an edge and wobbled in the scabbard. It felt wrong through and through. Go on. I was willing to give the glorified length of scrap metal a fighting chance, so I carried it into battle. After 2 parries, the blade snapped. I had to tackle the enemy and pound his head in with my fists. He squeezes his fingers together, his gauntlets creaking with tension. I dare say we've all been there, countrymen, broken sword or no. I shared some terse words with my commander, but nothing could be done about the situation. The Forgebound answered to Tunon, not the disfavored, which is why I'm glad you're here. My honor is tarnished, and I'm left with second-hand iron that has seen more active duty than a dozen stone shields. May I see the weapon? Here you go. As you can see plain as a spire that the iron is no good. He takes out a sword sheared in half. The flat edge shows evidence of spreading rust. The blade itself feels dislocated from the hilt, as if it's ready to fall off at any moment. Any ideas, Barrick? I wouldn't call this your standard wear and tear, but it's not a problem of the crafting either. It's almost as if someone tested the sword's durability 1,000 times against a tree trunk. Or against a thick-headed statue made of iron. Right, or a... Barrett cuts himself off and turns to Verse. That was at my expense, wasn't it? Ah, look, he learned something. What do you think, Verse? She looks down at the length of the sword and bites the inside of her cheek. With a slow shaking of her head, she runs her finger along the fracture. Whoever last swung this blade was either drunk or stupid. Looks like they were trying to swat flies off of Karen's backside and missed. Sorry, just give me a second here. Back to my questions. Have you trained with this type of sword before? I carried a blade just like it in Stalwart. That was made of bronze, of course, had a different weight to it, he shrugs. You should know as well as I that the differences cannot be overemphasized. There is something about this man I find distasteful. Have you spoken with the Forgebound about this? All the way in Lethian's Crossing? It's not as if my commander will send me out on leave just to give some sweat-stained smith a piece of my mind. Since the Forgebound report to Tunon, I figured you would represent their interests. Legally speaking, that is valid. Glad we don't have to worry about carting a smith all the way out here, then. I've dealt with Fatebinders before, and I know you're capable of going to mad lengths to see Kairos' will done. I'm ready to render judgment in this matter. About time I got my due justice. He nods and beckons for you to continue. At your leisure, Fatebinder. Your attitude isn't befitting a disfavored soldier. I rule for the Forgebound. What? My attitude? But that shouldn't enter into the matter. What mummery of law is this? Forgebound are artists. Show some respect. Bah! I'll see them accountable for their shoddy craft if you'll not help me. I'll find someone who can. Good day. Fatebinder, breaking edicts has become something of a specialty for you, hasn't it? Before long, Kairos may rely on these cleanup efforts of yours. Here's to hoping Kairos never has to cast another edict. Wishful thinking, but you're not wrong to desire it. I fear that dissidence will ever be a problem in Kairos' hierarchy, and that we have not seen the last of the Overlord's edicts. I don't mean to marginalize your efforts. What you've accomplished in short time is impressive, but don't forget that you are a vassal of greater powers, and should remember your place. What is it you require? I've made contact with Cadus and Radix. A quarrelsome pair, but I do like to see the family moving against the enemy together. Their bonds are more reliable than any number of like-minded countrymen. What do you have to report? The Earthshakers and Howling Rock are looking forward to studying Cairn's remains. I don't know what they hope to learn from a petrified Archon, but I'm sure they would vehemently defend their reasoning. If it furthers the war effort, then I can tolerate their delays for now. The Earthshakers are the arcane force behind my army, and I would see them ready for battle. Radix and Cadus have a plan to use Cairn's essence to blight the region, but they want your go-ahead. Radix wants my go-ahead. I was worried that he was the sort to abuse the significant position I gave him, so it is pleasing to see him show due deference. The general taps his chin, examining you slowly. And what would you say? If this was your decision, would you approve? So I'm going to read out these dialogue options because I suspect there's going to be a fairly profound consequence for one of these. So, yes, ruination of the Chorus-controlled lands will starve Narat's mob. Yes, slaying Cairn is following Kairos' commandment, and if the Earthshakers are right, their plan will render the land barren, starving the chaos. No, I would not advise it. The Earthshakers can't be fully trusted, and meddling with an edict could be seen as an insult to Kairos and those of us that respect the law. This is closer to my outcome, but maybe not my reasoning. No, I think the Edict of Stone makes life in the Stone Sea difficult enough. If the ritual doesn't cause the devastation promised, will have made life easier for our enemy. Depends how much do you trust the Earthshakers, and I'm honored you'd ask my opinion of the matter, but you should be seeking counsel with the Iron Guard, or irrelevant, not my legion, not my call. No, I would not advise it. The Earthshakers can't be fully trusted, and meddling with an edict would be seen as an insult to Kairos and those of us that respect the law. The Archon eyes you cautiously. Point taken, good Fatebinder. You are wise to be cautious of fair-weather allies, and you are right. I suppose my actions could be misconstrued as opposed to the Overlord. But we also run the risk of the Chorus finding a way to slay Cairn, resolving the edict in a less violent fashion, and if that happens, we've lost the opportunity to strike a killing blow, so I have to seize the initiative and take this risk. Thank you, Fatebinder. The time will come someday when I need to trust you with greater responsibilities, and is good to have an insight into how you think. So, Graven Ash protects. You were wise to bring this to my attention. The Archons fall under Kairos' jurisdiction, and that includes what remains they leave behind. We are fortunate that Kairos wished the Archon of Stone destroyed. I believe this offers us the freedom to dispense with this corpse however we see fit. Tell my forces they have approval to carry out their plan. I would see the voices of Narad and his howling mob starve to the point of cannibalism if it would deplete their numbers. I think this is the first time I've gone to the disfavored camp and have just made them constantly mad at me. I believe it's Stone Down Gorge. I should double check. Howling Rock. Radix is awaiting your return at Howling Rock. Report back to him and begin the next steps in the plan. Crap. God, I wish I was paying attention. Oh no, it should be the Dawning Spire. That's right. Yeah, sorry. I wasn't paying attention. Sir, this favored officer tips his head to you in greeting. What's the order from Ash? As you can see, the commander's raring to go. The Iron Guard stares at both of you without moving, utterly austere and unamused. Baby brother does not understand the notion of patience. A mountain cannot be moved by force, though try as he might. He sighs and clasps his hands behind his back. But yes, I too would know of our plans. Ash has issued the order to extract Cairn's energy and use it to permanently destroy the land. We are to commence immediately. A brutal and effective tactic. At least it promises to dwindle down the enemy through starvation. It might still be more than the Chorus deserves. Not to question the Archon's will, it strikes me as warlike, but unbecoming of the disfavored. A fair point worth considering, but we are here to follow orders. True enough, I don't mean to cast doubt on the mission, but let this serve as a reminder that the work of perfecting our methods is never finished, even in total obedience. Good, then it's as we expected. I've seen to the initial preparations, but as I have informed Cadus, we will commence when the Tellurian alignment is ideal for inducing a peak tectonic paroxysm, and not a span sooner. The lieutenant scrubs a palm down the front of his faceplate. See, unbridled and raring to go. There's no way the enemy will get the drop on us first. However, Radix continues, ignoring his brother's exasperated interjection, there is an imperative matter remaining that we must attend to before the ritual can begin. I deployed a grove of Earthshakers to excavate the required Azurelith loads from the neighboring region of Gulf Globe. Problem is, they haven't hightailed it back yet, or dispatched a missive. If they were excavating Azurelith, then it's likely they ran into problems with the Beastmen. Perceptive of you to think so. Beasts are powerful fighters, but unpredictable to our kind. One of the many reasons why Ash doesn't let them anywhere near the Legion. I've felt discordant tremors resonating from Gulfglow. I fear the tribe that first welcomed us as brethren of Cairn now only wish to bathe the land in our blood. Their primitive attunement to the Tarian arcanum of this region is pitiable. They should be begging us to teach them our ways, yet instead they seek to lay claim to our Archon and scrabble to prevent us from utilizing the abundant Azurelith of this realm. He stomps on the ground hard enough that a crevice splits between him and Cadus, causing the lieutenant to cautiously ease back. One day I will crush the savages beneath the very stones they worship. You can count on me to help. The brothers share a look, and Radix once more falls stoic. Without the Azurelith to amplify Cairn's remaining energy, transmuting it into a miasmic substance would be pointless. The area of effect would be unavailingly minimal. You have my word I will do my best to aid the Earthshakers and retrieve the Azurelith loads. Sir! The lieutenant salutes you with a resounding clang of his fist against his chest. Don't be long, and don't die on us. It's just as easy to go up to the spire at this point. So, oh. Encounter in the Stone Sea. You spot a peculiar sight in the distance. A giant plateau, much like the one you stride upon, has collapsed, tilting across the large chasm as it fell and smashing into the side of another, taller, lower of stone and dirt. The two have fused into a single structure, with remnants of the fallen plateau forming a narrow walkway along the chasm's edge. The newly formed path isn't an easy one. Sudden ascents and uneven footing prove tiresome, while crumbling rock and loose dirt make for perilous travels. Deep shadows cast by the pillar above you blanket the path, making visibly worse than expected. Suddenly, the path in front of you ends, a 15-foot gap separating you from the walkable ground on the opposite side. You peer over the edge, but can only see a dark expanse beneath you. Above you, you see a small rocky shelf with a tree bursting from its side, deeply embedded in the dirt. So attempt lore, use a pickaxe to carve your own path, climb up the shelf, or backtrack to find another way. We'll try lore. Use a pickaxe to carve your own path. Loose dirt and crumbling rock are plentiful here, a dangerous combination, but also one that may avail you now. With pickaxe in hand, you strike the side of the plateau wall, chipping away at it steadily. After a few minutes of work, you remove enough material to expose a rocky step. You place 1 foot upon it to test its stability, and thankfully it holds. You continue the process, lifting dirt and stone out of the way to form one step after another. It's painstaking work, but before you know it, you've safely crossed to the other side. You continue onward, working your way through the rest of the steep path. The ledge begins to tilt upward, and you slowly make your way out of the shadowed chasm and back onto the wide expanse of a mercifully conventional stone pillar, when you're able to traverse across far more forgiving terrain. Graven Ash has approved of Cadus' and Radix' plan to destroy the land of the Stone Sea in order to sabotage Narat's ability to farm and produce food for his troops. Meet with the Earthshakers at Gulfglow Old Walls. Cadus and Radix told you about a missing group of Earthshakers. Travel to the Gulfglow Old Walls to find out what happened to them. Oh no, Fatebinder! I've done my duty! You can't drag me back there! I have no intention of dragging you anywhere. Calm down and tell me what's happened. Beastmen! In the blood! So much blood! They'll slaughter all of us! Please, just let me flee! You're safe now, so tell me what's happened. After the sea split, I thought I'd make a living by mapping the land. I know the area well enough now, so the Earthshakers hired me to guide them. They were looking for some kind of precious stone. But the Stone Stalkers seemed to have other plans. When we got further in, they were already there, guarding the shards. One of the beasts nipped at an Earthshaker, so I fled. I've done my job, Fatebinder. Getting ripped to shreds isn't part of it. Fatebinder. The Earthshaker pounds his chest once in salute. He casts a sideways glance to Lycon before speaking. Ignore this coward and allow me to enlighten you on our situation. I assume you've come to aid us? Well, you don't need me with the Fatebinder here. You two want to go at it with the Beastmen. It's your funeral. I'm out of here. You've impeccable timing, as we seem to have entangled ourselves in a rather bloody rumble with the Beastmen. Radix feared that you've been felled by the beasts of this region. Have you the Azurlith needed for the ritual? Some, but not nearly enough. We'll need several more of the purest classification if we're to successfully amplify the phase velocity of Cairn's remaining energy during the ritual. We've hired a local scavenger to show us where he had seen a high concentration of crystal iodes, thus he led us here. At first the beastmen were amenable to our requests, but shortly after our excavations began, they became wrought with anger. Apparently we're stealing from their ancestors or some such foolery. There is what appears to be a leader among them, Red Fang, but she's retreated into the Spire before I could bring her to reason. Now we're trapped in a vicious standoff, and I'm hesitant on how to proceed. I'll speak with Red Fang and bring her to reason. Excellent, Fatebinder. Be quick about it if you could. I can't say the tribes have a reputation for patience, and I would like to avoid conflict if possible. Speak with Red Fang inside the spire. These beautiful purple crystalline formations are a common sight in the Stone Sea. Elderteeth crystals grow from the earth, blood of Stonestalker's ancestors. Humans will not take such from tribe. Far below lies the Stone Sea. Gulfglow Old Walls is a fraction of its previous landmass. Only spires of terrain remain after earthquakes. Oh.
Interesting.
Damn it.
I'll stay downwind of our enemies.
I'll take a look. How hard could it be?
Cool. Crystal fragment glows brighter than its nearby brethren. The fragment is firmly embedded in the ground. Gently pull on the crystal with just enough force to safely remove it. Now, this probably would piss off the beastmen, but guess not. Listen to me, you filthy mutt. These crystals are crucial to our efforts. We will have them one way or the other. Touch Elderteeth, and Beast One will tear out Earthshaker's throat.
Sorry,
Beastman growls at you.
Huh.
So I don't want to go skulking around this level, but I do need to be a bit careful with the traps. Wander no closer, human. Flee now or explain presence in Stonelands. The beastman hunkers forward, muscles bunching in readiness to strike. A menacing growl rumbles low from the back of his throat. Even mentioned tribe's elder-teethed and beastman will pitch human's body to the ground below. I mean your tribe no harm, nor have I come for any teeth. I seek only to speak with Red Fang. No, Red Fang does not wish to speak with humans. Leave now, and Beastman will let human live. I am a Fatebinder of Tunon, not some petty teeth-stealing traveler. You will let me through. Beastman slits his silvered eyes, wary. He sits back on his haunches, but his muscles jump with a mixture of excitement and fear, thrill and terror. He lolls a pale tongue out the side of his mouth, smirking. Fine. Enter at own peril, human. Treasure hunters frequent these sections of Stone Sea, hoping for a chance at finding increasingly scarce artifacts and forgotten stores of valuables.
Can't do that.
Gently pull on the crystal with just enough force.
Who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
Okay, we should take some time to level up Lantry, and then maybe I will make some judgments about the some of the inventory. Okay, so what's weighing Lantry down on his magic skills, I wonder? Right, the Edict of Stone. Okay. So for the skills related to lore, that's about it. Given that he is primarily a healer, I imagine that the quickness is probably the most relevant to my interests right now. Now for Sage, we've got Miasmic Strikes. Lantry's critical hits with weapons weaken enemies. I think I prefer that. We can't do Recounting of Deeds. So, pretty easy choice there. Now, I do have some... I have actually some trickier... I have some trickier choices with my party right now. So, for instance, one of these would be the decision as to whether or not I take Longclaw's Rage. So, lower armor penetration, but considerably more damage per second. You know, maybe... So, armor penetration. Let's see how that works. Armor penetration reduces the effectiveness of the target's armor by a specific amount. So, when a target with 5 armor is hit with an attack of armor penetration 2, the target can only use 3 armor to reduce the damage of the attack. When a weapon lists armor penetration among its information, this means that all attacks or abilities using that weapon gain the benefit. So, of course, the drawback here is that I need to figure out what the benefit of armor is, because that will give me an idea of whether or not the DPS is worth it on average. So with that, I can probably just take a look. Okay, so armor. When an attack hits, armor is the primary means of reducing damage. Armor is usually derived from equipped items, primarily in the chest and helmet slots, though spells, talents, and potions can increase the character's armor. Armor is subtracted directly from all incoming damage, e.g., an attack that initially does 20 damage to a target with 7 armor would be reduced to 13. Armor can never reduce incoming damage below 1. Note that many pieces of equipment will grant different armor values against the different damage types. Some types of attacks, such as damage over time effects, burning, poison, etc., and weapon attack procs are only reduced by 25% of the target's armor value. So that's interesting in practical terms. So what this kind of comes down to me, it seems, is, so when we compare this to my Iron Great Axe, right? We've got 32 to 39 versus 38 to 47. So in practical terms, that means anywhere from 6 to 8 extra damage. And I mean, so in this case, when it does a DPS rating, that translates to 2.97. And the difference in terms of the armor penetration is 3. So technically, if I'm against a fully armored opponent, I am losing 0.01 DPS, although that's taking the accuracy. The problem with that is that I'm not really putting any value on accuracy. I should maybe take a minute to work out exactly how that works. Now, if I take a look at the Fate Binder, the armor is 3. So, but of course, my best comparison is my most armored ally, and in that case, Barrack. Now, interestingly enough, against a fully armored enemy, the armor penetration is at its best. So again, like if I've got a Barrack level opponent. But short of that, everyone else in the party I would actually be pretty effective against. So I think what I will do here, I'm going to put this in the inventory, but I think I am going to equip the stronger axe in this case. And for good measure, we'll just take a look at the armor, but I imagine, well, the light leather vest, I think we did come back to the question. I think it was the opportunist that kept me from going all the way with this. This is almost certainly going on Lantry. All right, I don't think I've got anything I want to change with verse. Again, we'll take a peek just to make sure, but and then we already have the grave bow, so the only improvements I could see would be on armor. And we haven't, to be honest, we actually haven't changed that much. So I wouldn't be surprised if... Okay, so how do these work? Sensor's grip. Interesting. If I recall correctly, oh, no, fair enough. But yeah, again, the reason why I'm going to prioritize Sigil of Life is just, you know, Lantry's my healer, right? So I don't really think I could in good conscience. Sorry, I don't think I could in good conscience remove an opportunity, or sorry, prioritize something other than health. But I think that's it for the team. So I think what I might do here, before I go into this area, I'm going to take a small break just because it's the 1 hour mark. Broken Maw. One-handed masterwork, jagged. This push dagger is carved from the jaws of the sawtooth vial, a disagreeable sea creature dredged from lightless depths. It was sanded down to fit a rudimentary handle. Nothing has been done to accentuate the serrated edge. So I'm curious. I don't think this will be better for verse 2 equip, but I am curious. Oh, interesting. So better than Dauntless. So then that invites the question. I mean, yeah, tough to go against Titan's Hoof. We've already got top level with Dauntless, so.
Got them in my sights.
On the lookout.
On it. Can't do that.
They won't see me coming.
Huh.
Stepping lightly.
Sorry, I can't.
This is the spire glimpsed by countless travelers along the Stone Sea's northern horizon. Though it is a common sight, very few are able to successfully navigate to this location.
Those Earthshakers have picked a tussle with Beastmen. Doubt this will end in laughs.
Okay, so I'm going to make good on my threat to take a break. I'll try not to make it a long one because I've already got my tea in front of me, but I would like a minute just to stretch and otherwise take care of myself. I'll try not to make it too long, and again, there's few factors that will that should contribute to the extra length, but I will say now is a good time to get up, have a stretch, otherwise take care of yourself. And when we return, we will try and get ourselves a new spire, and theoretically the last spire. But again, I won't take too long, but I'm going to take some time. And again, I'll encourage you all, grab a tea, grab a water, get a stretch, do whatever you need to do. I will try to be back within 5 to 7 minutes or so. See you in a little bit. Right. I forgot to tab the game back up, so sorry for the silence, but thank you for your patience. We're back, or should be back. All right, so it does look, I mean, we've got the Beastmen in here. I guess we don't really have, I mean, we'll have to figure out what the deal is with the pattern. We'll check this out. I think one of the stupidest things I could do right now would be to pick up the shard. We can wait until after the interaction to do that. Right, find a way to the top of the Aurora Spire. You have reached the base of the spire, but it will be no easy task to figure out exactly how to activate the teleporter to the top. The crystal has somehow managed to rupture through the foundation of the spire.
Interesting.
The scroll contains a magical accent which creates a material force or guarded form spell. Spell to only affect the caster, but with an increased duration and strength.
Quiet down.
Where did they go? Interesting rune. This sunken relief, though heavily damaged, is clearly meant to depict a runic symbol similar to the one you saw at Ascension Hall. The relief is incomplete, and thus the final form of the rune is unknown. Take a charcoal rubbing, make a charcoal rubbing of the relief's shape to help discern the rune's design. Pressing charcoal to parchment, you capture a blurry but proportionate image of the ancient relief. The newly added imprint fills the remaining gaps on the scroll, giving you a clear representation of the carved rune. Ah, I believe this symbol has something to do with the symbol on the floor of the spire. Seems like this was something we'd already worked towards. So I suppose the question is, do I want to deal with Red Fang first or move to the top? Let's, he sniffs at you and then snorts loudly. Back off. Retreat with both feet. Alright, so here's what we're gonna do.
Consider it done.
Lantry.
You got it.
On it.
Let's make sure that we're ready. The beast woman cocks her head to one side, listening intently. Her ears flick once, twice, and her eyes narrow suspiciously. Who pads here? Soft, soft, slow. Who braves to approach Red Fang, guard eyes of Stonestalker's old walls den? Speak, human. Quick, quick, explain. Grimly, she spreads a grin, revealing teeth as dappled and brown as her muddy eyes. Or Red Fang will rip trespasser's jaw from head. What in Cairn's name is going on out there? Human earth mystics trespass in tribe lands, lured tribe with kind words like meaty chunks of wild boar. Said we're like tribe, could only hear earth blood flowing under rocks. Humans claim to hunt rocks called azurlith, but only steal elder teeth of ancestors. Now Stonestalkers have gathered to skin thieves alive. Whenever I see you creatures bristling to pit your claws and fangs against our irons, it always makes me shake my head and wonder. You just never learn, do you? And you never will, poor wretch. She snarls, spittle flecking from her fangs. Have learned how to kill humans, hard and slow, with much agony. Want to see? Eric has a point. Superior training will always win out. I don't point it out from a position of hatred or malice. It's for the beast's own good that they need to face facts. The dispute you're having with the Earthshakers, we can resolve it peacefully, or we can resolve it through bloodshed. Ironclad, reeking of death and lies, comes slinking to Beastwoman, wants to cry for peace. She yips and growls, hackles rising as she lumbers towards you. No, human. Disfavored will not have peace with Beastwoman. She howls in rage, lunging at your throat. I didn't see who started the lightning. Getting our ass kicked. Although I could stop sort of distributing the attacks in a stupid way.
Bite of killing teeth. Smash to pieces!
You got it.
So depending on the health, we do have some outside options.
You got it.
Okay, right, okay, because the enraged triggers when she kills someone. So this is fine because we'll just get Varric to make his move. And then maybe what I'll do here... I also think we're going to give...
I can't move!
You got it.
They are not going to get enough of her. Should probably stop provoking.
Get me out of here! I can't move, I can't dance. If I can't move, I
Right.
can't dance.
So I don't know if there was any peaceful way of resolving that, but you've acquired the Azure Shield. So if anything, that's going to help. That's going to help Barrack. You arrived at Gulfglow Old Walls and found the group of Earthshakers are in a standoff with a band of Beastmen from the Stonestalker tribe. Assist the Earthshakers and kill the Beastmen at Gulfglow and inside the Gulfglow Spire. So based on that description, I don't think there was much hope for negotiation. But I'm going to take care of my stuff first.
Yes.
Also, I should have checked to see what the shield situation looks like. Azure Shield, Azure Guard, parry when damaged. I mean, this doesn't seem very good. Yeah, this is a little better. Once wielded by the Champion of Azure, the shield was captured by beastmen of the Stonestalker tribe during Kairos' conquest. So I don't know if this is, hang on. Yeah. Seems like it's the full thing. A portion of an unknown sigil has been recorded on this scroll. The charcoal imprint is rough and incomplete, leaving the full design a mystery for now. Really? Alright, well, we can start with the circle. What's gotten into Barrack? So from there we can make the V's. And then there's sort of the little wing bits. And then I guess the curve goes immediately back to the circle, so...
I got it.
The now familiar light of the the now familiar light of the spire courses skyward, trailing off towards the horizon in the direction of Vendrian's well. You feel the ground beneath you fall away as you give in to the warmth of the energy surrounding you. The Aurora Spire in Gulfglow feels violent and unsettled, like it would claw itself from the earth if it had the strength. The stones, though clean, feel slick with blood. Something of the ritual and turmoil of the Stone Sea has warped this isolated place over the years. You feel energy well up from the ground and, with reckless enthusiasm, form a bond with Vendrian's well. This place isn't what you'd call stable. I wonder if this spire, it's a wonder the spire hasn't fallen down a chasm. Is it me, or is the magical field of this spire in motion, churning? This place seems to come alive at your presence, just like the mountain spire did. Only here, instead of a constant arcane hum, it's more of an intermittent scrape and shout. Isn't a steady hum, but an erratic choir? Waterfall, maybe. All I know for sure is that one of these days I'm going to write a treatise on the spires that'll be the envy of, well, a handful of sages still left. I can smell the beastmen from up here. Their stench is as powerful as an edict. Constructing training grounds allows you to recruit the finest skill trainers in the tiers. Once built, resting at any spire grants a bonus to accuracy, athletics, and subterfuge. Now, I believe we already got a grand... master trainer who teaches lore, so we probably don't need that for the training grounds. And it looks like everybody here is a master trainer, so... two-handed weapons and dual wield strikes me as particularly valuable here. Upgrades also seems good. Athletics. And I'm not going to say no to one... Well, we've already got the one-handed weapons, so... All right.
On it.
Fatebinder's here. Look alive, everyone. The man before you offers a nod at your approach. He meets your eyes hesitatingly and pauses before speaking. Thank you for having me, Fatebinder. The name's Rise. I'm here because I'm good at just two things, killing my foes and seeing where the currents flow. I'd rather not get caught on the wrong side of history, so I'm here to humbly offer my sword. I'm well versed in many forms of combat and can help you stay versatile during a fight, should you wish it. Why did you choose to follow me now? These spires have towered over us for generations. Whoever made them was far beyond us, mere peasants on the ground. They were objects of wonder and legend in Tiersman stories, and now you've claimed them. He looks directly at you, conviction in his eyes. That's reason enough for me. What can I do here? If you want to hone your fighting skills, or perhaps learn some new ones, this is the place. But really, this spire is your domain. What you do and who you invite to aid you is your choice. I'd like to train. Yeah, so this is really basic training. Although at this point with Verse, I should be leveling her. That shield might smell a little, but it looks as pristine as the day it was made.
I got it.
I got one of those. The rugged shoulder snaps to an immediate salute, his fist clanging against his breastplate. Graven Ash protects. Graven Ash protects. I couldn't be more proud to stand atop this spire with a true friend of the Legion, Fatebinder. He looks out to the horizon and takes a deep breath. I've been away from home for too long, and it's good to see the north from this vantage. Now that you're up here, what's your plan? Sorry, just 1 second. I'm an Oathbound. Among other things, that means... Man, it sucks that the music went away. I'm an Oathbound, and among other things, that means I'm a distinguished scout and a hunter. I intend to do what I do best. If you're interested in pelts, it would be my honor to scour the wilderness beyond the spire and lay some traps. Anything I bring back is yours by rights. Do you have anything for me now? I haven't got anything on me just yet, but you'll find me, just find me again later when we've had a chance to inspect my snares.
Sorry, I can't.
Interested in sparring? My nerves are knotted up just standing here, and I could use a distraction. Sure, let's go. More levels for verse.
Better, faster, and stronger.
So, first question is whether or not I want to get anything else in Duelist, or do I try and put some points in Skirmisher? So we've got Mocking Iron versus taunts her foe, enraging them and forcing them to attack her for a brief time. Fury's Rush versus moves quickly about the battlefield, too quickly for enemies to engage her. Pig on a Spit versus swaps positions with an enemy and then stabs them with each of her weapons. Fury's Embrace. Scarlet Vengeance... I think we already did Sweeping Death. Yeah, so... Not opposed to Gravedigger, but let's see what we can find in Skirmisher before I go too much further. So, Hobbled Prey versus pins a target's feet with an arrow, hobbling them so they move slowly. Launch an arrow drenched in oil and covered in flames. Set foes on fire for much longer than burning iron. Okay, that I can see. Attacks made with bows gain armor penetration, and while only wearing light armor, gain a bonus to dodge. Okay, I'm actually going to start with that. I can definitely see a few in the Skirmisher path, though. I look forward to returning to Iron Hearth. The sooner the better. She frowns and regards you with skepticism.
Don't know about you, but I feel like fighting someone.
Cool. A woman in rusted, battered armor with spots of weathered skin showing through her face mask peers over the side of the spire. Is there anything you needed, Fatebinder? I'd like to train. One-handed weapons, subterfuge, and parry. Nothing I really wanted to work with here. A small village rests on the precipice of a crystal-riddled canyon. We saw the rust storm disappear. I've never seen a storm end that quickly. I trust my favorite student is doing well today. I should put some thought into what I want Barrick to get, actually. The sage before you is distracted, half muttering to herself while clutching the half-burnt remains of a scroll. Her hands are in motion, tracing the curves of some unknown rune. You suddenly hear the high-pitched cry of a carrier raven as it plummets to the ground, its feathers completely burnt away. She looks up at the noise and notices you. Well, that wasn't quite what I was expecting, but I suppose that's a risk with a scrap of the original text. She uncorks a vial and splashes its contents on the bird, which remains completely still on the ground. Suppose it would have to be alive for that to work. Another lesson learned. She turns to give you her full attention, apologetic in tone. Forgive me, Fatebinder. I don't mean to make a mess of the place. I'll admit, my curiosity is a little hard to control sometimes, but I promise not to waste your time or to make too much of a mess up here. I know you haven't had much love for my fellow sages, but I'll try my best to change that. Whatever arcane knowledge you seek, I'll provide. What can I do for you, Fatebinder? What kind of experiments are you interested in? Must I restrict myself? Think about how much magic could go undiscovered if we had to limit ourselves. But I must confess a certain affinity for electricity applied to a wide variety of objects. Even if the results don't surprise, they always satisfy. What do you think of this spire? More impressive than I imagined so many times before from the ground. It is a bit breezy, though. That's a pain when your profession demands an obsessive collecting of scrolls that are all too happy to scatter to the winds. I'd like to train. Yeah, we're not doing any of those. Dark gray lips peel back in a hard sneer. She watches you, wary. Time to fight? Let Beast Woman strike with claws. Yeah. The rust storm has been blowing for so long, I'd forgotten what Stalwart actually looks like. Okay, so I'm going to
Good day, Fatebinder. It's always nice to see you.
take a
What
quick
do you need?
second with the party members just to see if there's any due dialogue.
What is it you need?
Survey says no. So I think the question here, I guess for Lantry, we would prioritize lore and then
Alpha.
life.
Kills in shadow must speak with Alpha. Now. And clever hunter. Can reason why Pack would need to kill one tribe of beast women, weakest but largest tribe, to best human prima called Kairos. But Shadowhunter wants to know, needs to know now, that Pack's slaughtering of beast women will not continue.
What do you mean?
Have hunted many, if not all, stone stalkers. Had reason, yep. But what of other tribes? What of Mantiborn of Stalwart Sea? What of Cat Vanis or West Reavers in northmost of Tears Land? Kills in Shadow fights for Fatebinder, so that Kith will not die like Shadow Hunters. So that all beast women can thrive.
I understand why you might be worried, but I have no reason to slaughter the other tribes.
It's true. Fatebinder is not lying.
She huffs a breath of relief, even as she eyes you warily. Against her better judgment, she wants to trust you.
Alpha is to kills in shadow, would not think to ruthlessly hunt beast women extinct. And would you not think Alpha could survive Bulwark's own fury and fangs? Once beast woman realized humans' plan? At the threat, she cracks her spindly knuckles, claws curving against the palm of her hand. They bite into the calloused skin under her until her fist drips blood. What have I told you about questioning me? Wild crimson eyes narrow to slits, and she growls warningly. Puncher. She howls and quivers, both frightened and surging with rage. Her claws dig deeply into the palms of her hands as she clenches her fists. She grunts from the pain or anger or both, clearly desiring to attack you. But she breathes deeply, jutting her tears proudly into the air. Her teats proudly into the air. She snaps you a harsh nod, accepting your right to lead. Have seen Alpha accomplish many impossible feats. have seen strength to rival Archons that hunt for Beastwoman. So Shadowhunter will submit to Fatebinder for longer. For now. Before we continue our travels, I want to talk to you about some things. Had any good hunts lately? Oh, sorry. Alpha needs only to speak. Bulwark will listen. Had any good hunts lately?
Good, yep. And many more than 5.
The Beastwoman flexes and curls her claws in the air, the pitch blackness of them suddenly striking, a stark reminder of their power, their ability to kill.
Went to prowl length of old walls during dark of nightfall. Killed many Bane, but could not kill all. Bane are strong, tough hunt even for beast women. Had to run, flee. Fatebinder wants beast woman?
Happy that I rescued Left Claw? Oh, sorry. The reek of unwashed feral animal, bloodied and battle-worn, swathes you like a wet blanket, and you breathe through your mouth to keep from retching. Happy I rescued Left Claw?
Yep. Fatebinder is good alpha to kills in shadow. Listens to beast women's demands like all males should. Must like beast women to fight for former pack whelp.
She chuffs and shakes her head. She pants and scratches the back of her mane, hunching forward, closer to you, her breath puffing hot against your neck. Her dark pink tongue lolls, dripping drool on your shoulder as she grins.
Beast woman too likes Fatebinder.
Fatebinder wants you to bathe. I'd like to spar with you.
Beast woman gets to play fight with alpha?
She immediately perks up, salivating and snarling happily as she rises on hind legs and swipes several practice swings to limber up. She splays her dark claws wide and pins you with an eager, blood-thrilling stare.
Come!
Before you can step even a single foot forward, the Beastwoman surges for you without warning, tackling you hard about the waist. Sorry, without warning, without waiting, tackling you hard about the waist. The force of her weight slams into you, her muscled shoulder rammed into your gut, and you both tumble for the ground in a tangle of limbs, hair, and claws. Headbutter. Hands gripping her hairy shoulders to steady yourself, you ram your forehead as hard as you can into her swarthy snout. Bone crunches audibly and Kills in Shadow howls, rearing back as blood spates down the front of her chin and throat. She gnashes her red-tinged fangs, pained and furious, and looking for a moment as if she may very well tear your throat out, but then she licks the blood coating her lips and grins at you dangerously.
Beastwoman likes fighting with Alpha.
She purrs and carefully, sensually crawls back from you.
Like playing with prey, or with pack. Would play sometimes with stone whelps. Rut, mate, slaughter.
I'm always down for a game. Unless it involves throwing and catching. In which case,
Is easy. Packmate chooses one of each. Rut, mate, slaughter. If prey is chosen, pack joins ensuing hunt. If packmate is chosen, and both agree to game, then pack gets to watch.
Rut, mate, slaughter, eh? Well, does it have to be 3 different people? I rutted with my old gang boss, Fine Ass. Mated him for a time, and then I killed him. Of all my days running with the chorus, I think I enjoyed Ass Gang the most.
oh, I get it. Okay. I'd rut Barrack, since Kairos' forces need a little pillage and rape in return. I'd mate with Verse, mostly to take half of whatever land she's going to someday conquer. Obviously, I'd kill Lantry. Who wouldn't?
What? I'm old enough to be everyone's father. This is disgusting.
Wow. I appreciate being included in this little... well, I'm not even really sure what to call this. It's not like any game I've ever played, but... I'm gonna say nothing and pretend like I haven't heard a word anyone said. And then I'm gonna go sing myself a little amnesia.
Barrick looks at you and simply shakes his head in horror and disbelief. I completely forgot about this
How
one.
could beast woman choose any other? Would rut ebb good and hot fast? would mate Alpha and would slaughter, carve back to pieces, slowly, savoring while slicing flesh from neck. Yep. What?
On it.
The impressive size of the cliffs and deep crevices is enhanced when looking across the whole of the region. Actually, I don't even need to... So Lantry's at 215 lore. Obviously, he's not going to be able to study any further. So, I guess the question here is, we have got... Let's just double check here. So you've got Restoring Touch, which is Sigil of Life. Yeah, so we should be looking for Control Life. Okay. See Vigor, but I don't see... Oh, here we go. Now, before we do that, because it's going to take me 15 minutes for each region. This is interesting, actually. So we've got Endurance... We've got Will, Dodge, Parry, melee attacks and spells, ranged attacks, Endurance. There's a side of me that says just keep pushing the athletics with Barrick. Determines a character's ability to traverse difficult terrain as well as their ability to execute complicated moves in combat. Athletics is also used in dialogue to determine your ability to intimidate or physically overpower. And I could compare that to Dodge and Parry. I don't know, I feel like those are okay, so maybe we do actually go for the athletics here. So, Death Leaper. Barrick will be happy to train with the Beast, I think that's Beast Man.
Our time together has not gone to waste.
Right. He studied the blade. So we've got engagement attack, gain a chance to attack enemies as they engage you. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so Lantry's the last for training. Okay, so we can do Art of the Blade 2, moderately increases single one-hand and two-handed melee weapon damage, breaking the wall, a powerful multi-hit attack that dazes, stuns, and sunders opponents. When Barrick is in the party, all party members gain bonus experience for athletics, one-handed, and two-handed skills. That's really tempting, actually. And Legs of Iron, root in place, gaining immunity to push and prone effects, and large boost to endurance at the cost of the ability to move. Yeah, we're going to do Training Ground for a start. It's a little late to be doing training stuff, but I'd say any improvements to the party would be a good investment. I believe the Dawning Spire is where we want to go. Have you come for training, Fatebinder? Oh, interesting. So we can train him in more lore. I'm trying to remember who gives me stuff. All right. Seems like a pretty good day's work. I think I'm just going to let Barrick's points work through. Lantry's the definitely definitely the surprise as far as experience is concerned. All right, looks like that's going to be going on for a while. And yeah, we're back to securing the city. Now, I expect we're going to be doing fighting like right out the gate, so maybe we'll buff everyone for a start. Yep.
You got it.
Send me your champion!
You got it.
At once.
Get back here!
Not a problem, boss. Bleed out, you little shit!
Send me your champion!
Damn it, Fatebinder.
Will do.
Thing couldn't pierce. Cloth.
We should try that again.
God, I am never going to get over the pathfinding in this game.
We can do this!
To battle!
You got it. You got it. Damn thing couldn't pierce the block.
Come and feast my eyes!
Just I'm here to make friends. You got it. Bleed out, you little shit! You got it. Glory of Cairo!
Return to Basilian, who is right in front of me. Well, Fatebinder, you certainly made it easier for us to cull the crystals we need. You've done the guild a great service. Oh, and if you're heading back to Howling Rock, you could take this crate of pure azurelith specimens with you. Glare silently. Yes, this is an exceptional yield and will serve us well for the ritual. He cocks his head to the side, thoughtful. Well, I appreciate the kind assessment, Fatebinder. I'm not sure I'd deem our haul to be much more than scarcely adequate due to the duress nature of our excavation. In fact, it couldn't hurt to harvest a few extras to supplement the collection. Perhaps some with more prominent striational patterns. I should have read this before. Training grounds upgrade. You have constructed the training grounds on one of your spires. The greatest skill trainers in the tiers will be attracted to your spire, where they can enhance the skills of your party members beyond what they could normally achieve. And bring the shards to Azurelith. Sorry, the shards of Azurelith to Radix at Howling Rock to begin the preparations for the ritual of Cairn. And I would say, given that we have all of the spires at this point, we've got to be getting close to a finish, I would assume. The required preparations have been set. Are you ready to perform the ritual that will extract Cairn's energy? Joining us is not a critical component, but I believe you would facilitate our focus. I would also like you to do us the honor of executing the final rite. Well, I mean, the plot doesn't work if I don't absorb all of the powers. So. After extracting his energy, we will have only a short time in which to use it to permanently destroy the land. Let us begin. Excellent. In that case, I will signal for the ritual of fallowing to commence. As punishment for their intransigence against Kairos, the family lands of many bastard tier nobles were rendered lifeless by the ritual of fallowing, a merging of Cairn's power in concert with his disciples that would blight the landscape for generations to come. Though a waking and active Archon of Stone was present in past iterations of this ritual, the ritual could, at least in theory, draw its power from a less cogent Cairn to oversee the mystic forces. The disfavored lieutenant clears his throat and edges away from the cliff. I'll just take a step back for this one. Radix Ironcorn taps his staff once, twice, thrice on the ground. Let the land hear our cries. He continues as Earthshakers gather, slowly chanting around him. Let the land shudder and tremble. Let the land swallow Cairn's legacy and choke on the power forevermore. Archon of Stone, we gathered beseech you, we who believe. Let us now fallow this land, as is fitting for your grave dirt. Sir, the Scarlet Chorus are upon us. They breach the perimeter. Oh, for Graven's glory. Radix scrubs a hand down his visor, sweat beads in the gaps of his armors. Rouse the guild and defend the compound. Do not allow the Scarlet Chorus to interrupt the ritual, no matter the cost. Understood? He glances quickly to his brother. Cadus? The disfavored officer unsheathes his sword with gusto. He clanks heavily as he stomps forward. Me and my shields are on it. With a respectful nod, he rushes past you, eager for battle and already shouting for his soldiers. Radix affixes you with a stony, set expression. Fatebinder, we need you as well. If the chorus defeats us here, the disfavored's odds in this war are all but doomed. Do not let them halt the ritual. Nod silently. Fatebinder, it is of the utmost importance. Do you understand? Do not let them shatter the Azurlith loads. If they dislodge one of the focal staves, it is imperative you re-embed it into the load immediately, else the charge, and thus the entire ritual, could become unstable. Realign the central Azurlith node and defend the Earthshakers. I'm assuming it's this one? I would have thought there'd be music for the climactic battle.
Send them out!
The staff, affixed to a charged load of Azurlith, has been primed to harness Cairn's energy, and unavailable during combat. Fair enough. Okay, we definitely want to take out the Blood Chanter as soon as possible. That's no good. I don't think there's much I can do about it, though. Actually, at this point, let's get Barrick. Working on the big guys. Good. God. Okay, works for me.
Sorry, I can't.
And then everybody can just pile on this guy.
As you command.
For the glory of Khan!
Fatebinder, you cannot let the chorus halt the ritual. We've already siphoned too much telluric energy from Cairn. If the geotriadic resonance of the Azurelith nodes becomes disarrayed, the resulting backlash could kill Cairn, and with him our ability to ever blight this realm. Quickly, you must re-embed the focal staff into its Azurelith node to realign the spectral grid. Re-embed the Earthshaker focal staff into the charged Azurelith node to stabilize the ritual. Realign the southeastern Azurelith node. What's the magic word?
I'll take care of it.
I am a shield wall myself!
Quite how I planned on that going, but you know what? I'll take it.
I have no other way. I bring glory to my kin.
Consider it done.
Verse is MVP on this one.
Take care.
I'm on it.
Realign the western Azurelith node.
Another battle.
Unbelievable.
Will do.
Funny thing is, I actually have a ton more.
Damn thing!
I have plenty of space for more spells.
Thing couldn't pierce cloth.
I've just been too lazy to work on any of them.
As you command.
Okay, this I kind of gotta see.
Will do.
Okay, Reverse needs a heal and fast.
Right.
I'll take care of it.
On it.
You got it.
As you command.
This isn't working.
Raven Ash protect.
As you command.
Come back and face me.
I'm on it.
Right.
I mean, it says I can pick up loot off of them.
I've had far worse. Send them at me in waves.
Okay, so I want to actually move Barrack. So Barrack normally locks these guys down, but in this case I want the Fatebinder and Verse on the Magician. And that's so... Well, first thing we'll hit him with the Thrust. I don't think we have any more spellcasters, so in this case we can do the old 1-2.
Ready? I will aid you.
Not a
We can get Verse working on
Problem.
other things.
Fuck is wrong with my weapon?
So this suggests that Verse might be on someone a little more armored than she should be, but there doesn't seem to be any alternative target.
Count on it. Count on it. Count on it.
Yep, that's that. Yeah, I know I need to activate it right away, but loot. Nope. And there's some over here?
Right.
I never liked this plan anyway. Re-embed the Earthshaker focal staff into the charge Azurelith node to stabilize the ritual. With the Archon of Stone's last shuddering breath, the Earthshakers expel the whole of his life force, mixed with his arcane energy, now warped and twisted and thrust deep into the heart of the realm, a poisonous strike to forever rend the land. The edict breaks with an audible clap, and your stomach lurches from the sense of sudden weightlessness combined with an acrid tang in the back of your throat, an aftertaste of the rot that now infuses the land. It's done. The edict is no more, and we didn't blow up all of Terratus in the process. Lucky us. We resolved the edict, but at what cost? The land is blighted. Nothing will grow here in our lifetimes. Maybe no one else's, for that matter. The fall of an Archon and the death knell of the chorus. It is a rare day, but I am honored to stand at the center of it for the glory of Ash. Barrick strikes a salute and bows. The wording of the edict pounds through your skull with the sort of clarity that usually comes from days of practice and repetition. It would seem that the Edict of Stone is now a part of you. A word, Fatebinder. Lantry takes you aside, patting your shoulder. I wondered if you might entertain a quick question. Go ahead, Lantry. Wonderful. He dips his quill and starts writing on a sheet of vellum, focusing on you all the while. You've broken a number of Kairos' edicts at this point, which is not a claim many could make. How do you feel about what you've accomplished? Spare me no detail, please. This is for posterity. Anything that strikes you about the experience is invaluable to the Chronicle. So I've ruined a realm to save the tears. It was a necessary cost. I'm taking something from the Overlord. It feels strange. Merely another stepping stone on the way to greatness. Breaking an edict means I have fulfilled Kairos' will. I'm bringing order to the tears one realm at a time. And if the tears will not bend to the Overlord's dominion, they will be punished. Breaking an edict means I have fulfilled Kairos' will. I am bringing order to the tears one realm at a time. So this is truly the course you've chosen. Then Tunon was wise to claim you as the court's own. You are a true standard-bearer to Kairos' most austere sense of order. Nodding slowly, Lantry writes a furious series of notes. One last question for now. How do you feel, physically and mentally, I mean? I ask because there's very little precedent on the matter, and you could define the symptoms and reactions for, well, history as a whole. An arcane feat on this scale doesn't happen every day. Haunted, the things I've accomplished are not the province of mortals. Lantry taps his quill on his wrist. That's no small concern. If breaking these edicts is impacting your sanity or willpower, I would question how far you want to pursue this goal. He pauses to regard you and grin. Admittedly, such concerns never stopped me in the past. I would tell you stories about some of the things I've read, except that I've worked very hard to forget them. I think I have what I need for now. Future readers of the Chronicle will thank you for your time and introspection. Lantry stops his writing and smiles. Project intense flames towards Verse, which she catches on her blades and spins into an aura of wreathing flames around her. Nearby foes take burn damage from the flames while they last. Speak with Radix at Howling Rock, and I'm just curious. No edicts anywhere. Fatebinder, you couldn't have been more instrumental to our cause. We were able to successfully extract Cairn's energy and blight the land for the next millennia to come. Suffice to say, the General will be pleased. The next generation won't be pleased when the Tears run out of food. Brutal as it can get, even the Scarlet Chorus sets a limit on cruelty. His tone is shrewd in assessing when he next speaks. And it would appear you personally benefited from the breaking of the Edict of Stone, though to what end even I cannot fathom. I dare say our time together has proven somewhat symbiotic, if not wholly beneficial to you, Fatebinder. He taps his heel against a crumbling rock in thought. Cairn is now deceased, though there yet remains a tinge of power within him to be harvested. Should you have use for it, consider it a sign of my favorable appraisal. Could that be a gracious gesture from the Iron Core himself? Must have taken some resolve not to drain every last drop, Commander. Yes, and I am sure as you are aware, resolve is not an area in which I am lacking. I'll harvest a piece of the Archon and inform Ash that we have successfully struck a definitive blow against the Chorus.
I've got it.
Return to Graven Ash. You have used the whole of Cairn's arcane energy to forever blight the Stone Sea, thus striking a crippling blow to Nerat's army. Return to Graven Ash at Iron Hearth and report on the success of your campaign. And harvest a piece of cane to become more powerful.
Sorry, I can't.
Before you lies the broken body of Cairn, petrified in death. A residual tinge of power pulsates faintly beneath the surface of his skin. You can detect subtle vibrations in 6 points along the Archon's body, the last expressions of his diminishing life force. Cairn's right hand holds the essence of his quickness. Okay, so I can go for quickness or his finesse. Oh, looks like there's more. His resolve. I mean, technically that does help my lore. Okay, wits. Vitality. Damn it, there's too many! I think I might go for the wits. Cairn's remains lie here, collapsed in a pile of azurelith and stone. The wandering Archon was destroyed by the might of the Edict of Stone. Oh, okay. As much as I like the cat, I feel remnants of an Archon are slightly more powerful. So it's funny, this is definitely the one order I did not want to follow through on, so it's kind of interesting that it forced me, but that does also strike me as the sort of thing where it's doing that to sort of create a rift between me and the ruler. Although it's also possible that this is entirely about, you know, being a big old jerk, and I've just tried to be too much of a softie over the time. Fatebinder, I felt something indescribable pass through me just before your arrival. Emotions of great rage and pain, followed by a moment of lingering sorrow. I suspect that something has been lost, and Teritus herself strains at the absence. Ash winces and rubs his brow. I understand that both of the spires jutting up from the ruins of Azure are now under your control. It would seem that impossible feats are no mystery to the likes of you. Impressive for Tunon's minion. Do not allow yourself to be swept up by the esteem and glory of this achievement. Were you a soldier of mine, I would temper your pride with modesty. The disfavored and Earthshakers were triumphant and have managed to destroy Cairn. The Archives of Stone. Fallen. Ash turns his gaze out to Iron Hearth, settling it on nothing. I thank you, Fatebinder. It was a long time coming. Cairn's betrayal was inexcusable, and a death sentence from a lawful hand is no more or less than he deserved. What's more, you are to be commended for resolving an Edict of Kairos and putting down an Archon at once. He pulls on the end of his beard and frowns. I have my doubts about starving the Scarlet Chorus this way. Do you think the Voices of Nerat concerns himself over the ethics of his atrocities? Do you think that he questions the fairness of it all while he displays the pelts of his victims as works of art? This is war, and I will not allow petty misgivings to stay my hand. I have no desire to become as twisted and deplorable as the Voices, but I will use every weapon at my disposal to rid the world of him. You don't sound too pleased about this. I do not always find war pleasing, especially in these dark days. When it is thrust upon me and former allies show their true colors, at times I want nothing more than to see home again, but even home has its memories. I would never have called the Archon of Stone a friend. Cairn was a difficult man to know, taciturn and removed, keeping to himself as often as not, but we had much in common. When you are an Archon, that is a quality you learn to cherish in others. So no, I am not pleased, and I make no secret of it. I am sorrowful and cruel. Even though the Archon needed to die, that does not stop me from wishing it were otherwise. On to the next order of business. What happens to the Scarlet Chorus from here? The crops grown for our enemies will have withered on the vine. By now the Archon's forces are clutching their stomachs and tightening their belts as we starve them out. Ash stands tall and beams at the thought. A fair reward for more than fair service to the Legion. Ash nods with gratitude and hands you a heavy hammer wrapped in cloth. The Earthshakers and Forgebound conceived of this, and I can think of no wielder more deserving than you, Fatebinder. Fatebinder. Breathless, the officer snaps to attention. No time for pleasantries or ceremony. Your spire is under attack. The Scarlet Chorus have ramped up the offensive, and they mean to topple your stronghold, with you atop it if need be. I feared something like this might happen. An act of desperation from the voices of Narat. He's either too much a coward to attack for Iron Hearth, or his forces are too weak. Either way, you will need to answer this threat with blood. You've carried out your task with distinction. Well done. My thanks, Fatebinder. Best of luck at your spire. Dear Fatebinder Solon, you ended an edict and have... Let's try that again. Dear Fatebinder Solon, you ended an edict and have now ended an archon. I know none in this court had such expectation. Okay. I know none in this court had such expectations for you when the adjudicator initially brought you among us. So many surprises in so short a span. You fascinate. While he lived, Cairn was a singular being, a titanic man born of the womb of Teratus herself, to hear some tell it. While none still living can provide account to that birth, you bore witness to his demise. Indeed, you precipitated it. I ask that you indulge my scholar's curiosity. What passed between you and the Archon of Stone in those final moments? Did the ground tear itself asunder as a widow rends her garments? Did the mountains groan at panegyric to their champion? Were there any final words from Cairn, spoken or inscribed? Does the crystal that reportedly protrudes from the cliff faces throughout azure still glimmer? Or has it darkened? I watch eagerly for your bird. Describe the blighted land. Fatebinder Rogulus, how does one depict the death thrones of a nation? In the Edict of Stone, Kairos consigned Cairn to his doom, but in their ritual, the Earthshakers spread that execution across the entire region, the life drained from the soil even as it faded from Cairn's eyes. One could verily feel the stone trying to leech my own life from me, as if I'd eaten stale bread when I already thirsted for a flagon. We marked this place, and it may never recover. Return to Vendrian's Well. Word has arrived that the Scarlet Chorus are laying siege to your spire in Vendrian's Well. The Archon of Secrets has apparently exhausted his restraint and has called for your head. Enemy forces are marching on the Citadel in Vendrian's Well. Return to your spire to assess the situation. You see Karolek, the merchant from Bastard's Wound, ahead of you. He stands in the middle of the road, looking rather dazed. His head turns toward you as you approach, but he seems to look through rather than at you. Shop? Goods? Let's see them, then. Wise choice, he nods, head bobbing bird-like. Wise, wise choice. All right, I do have a couple things I want to get rid of. Skull mask, the iron skull mask, still mostly intact after separating from a disfavored helmet. This broken mask can be sold to a merchant as spare parts. So what I'm trying to do here is avoid selling things. When it comes to scraps, I may want to sell them to my own merchants. Or the iron, at least. Okay, I don't need to go crazy. Did I not just buy a bunch of spells? Greetings, Fatebinder. The Iron Guard salutes you with a clattering salute. Our oathbound scouts alerted us to a chorus assault on your spire, and Lord Ash insisted we send aid at once. I've assembled it. The massive sculptured rumbles, shaking the masonry of the spire and sending her off balance. The orb in the center of the resonator spins with the push of some unseen force. Where the structure once exuded warmth, it now gives off a ferocious heat that singes your face the longer you stare into it. A sound like music swarms in the air around the structure, but it's painful and disharmonious to your ears. Ugh! Barrick tries to block his ears from the discordant music of the spire, but only succeeds in rattling his head under his helmet. Feels like Stalwart all over again. That sound! The Edict of Storms! He turns to you, wearing a look of bewilderment. Don't you hear it? The power, it's... His hands drop to his sides. It's all funneling into... Fatebinder, the Spire's acting like you're the eye of a great cyclone. The Spire is now fully awake. Its long-dormant currents of energy dance into your presence. Crouching to the ground to steady herself, Eranos stays low to the ground until the trembling subsides. Feels like something is shaking the spire. The chorus can't pull off that sort of magic. What in Kairos' name is going on? Spire often communicates in visions. Perhaps this is its way of saying it has something to discuss. I don't suppose this magical spire of yours has some warding magic or something of that ilk. She points down towards the chorus troops amassing below. Unshakable courage and superior training will only take us so far against that large a force. The spire resonates my oh. Yeah, so this strikes me as blasphemy. This is borderline blasphemy. So when I broke the Edict of Fire, I was flooded by an intuition of how it all works. I could try proclaiming it without Kairos' words. But then again... Yeah, let's say. When I broke the Edict of Fire, I was flooded by an intuition of how it all works. I could try proclaiming it without Kairos' words. You would act the Overlord. We're under attack. This is hardly the time for blasphemy, wishful or otherwise. She shakes her head with a quiet mutter to Graven Ash. Hello, Tiberiosity? Thanks. Do it. Shout and yell and pretend you're Kairos, and when we're done, we'll discuss a real plan. Well, thank goodness researching the sigil scroll is complete. I'm pretty sure I just got robbed by that. Oh no, hang on. It's right here. The resonator atop Vendrian's well spire has activated. The arcane structure seems to amplify all magic around it. How and why were a mystery until now. You believe this artifact could be used to help repel the enemies laying siege to your citadel. The mystic hum of the spire pulses to the cadence of your heart. The ancient structure awaits your command. Touch the resonator and concentrate. As you touch the stone structure, your sense of the moment slows, and you feel the entirety of the tiers at your fingertips. The spire stands ready to channel your will. Select a region to view its current edict or to issue a new one. Unknown edicts. Interesting. The Edict of Fire brings the energy of fire to large regions of the world. This generates incredible heat, sometimes flame, as well as strengthening the powers of magic. Edict of Stone leeches magical energy from the sky and living creatures, storing it in the rocks below. This energy can lead to earthquakes and the slow petrification of the living. And Edict of Storms. The Edict of Storms will generate a massive storm that covers huge areas of the world. The chaotic energy unleashed will cause random damage to strike your enemies during combat. Alright. I should also be paying attention to what this gives me. So, 15% to all magic skills, 15% to frost damage converted to health, 5% potion effectiveness, exhausting desert-like heat withers the region and dries up all natural sources of water. All characters have their magic skill increased. The Fatebinder's party also heals a portion of frost damage received by, and consumables are far more effective. Foes become fatigued and have a penalty to quickness. Enemies get 15 to magic skills, empowered bane, and slower quickness. Now I'm curious, I imagine that I would see more fire from the Scarlet Chorus, so I wonder if there's something there. Lower magic skills, weaken bane, better control stone, and longer prone duration. Definitely not where I want to go with that. And better control lightning, lower control fire, higher shock damage taken. Not 100% sure. This would be better to have Ebb in the party, but... The Edict of Storms will generate a massive storm that covers a huge area of the world. The chaotic energy unleashed will cause random damage to strike your enemies during combat. The torrential rain plaguing the land, increasing the power of shock spells and lowers the effectiveness of fire spells. The torrential rain plaguing the land, increasing the power of shock spells and lowers the effect... Okay, same thing. What in Graven Ash's name? The Iron Marshal turns about, taking the view in all direction. But Kairos didn't give an edict to read, so how did... Glare silently. You did that? Her hand grasps for her chest. But only Kairos can cast an edict. now that you... No, we are not telling the others. Now, you know... and now that you've seen what I can do with your own... I don't know. Silence. Your voice carries the weight of the Overlord's magic. She dips into a bow. I should not have doubted you. The chorus have no idea what they just walked into. The Iron Marshal smashes her gauntlets together with a quiet chuckle. Binder, let us strike now. We must seize the moment and swing their panic into a rout. Hoisting her blade in hand, Eranos moves towards the exit. Fatebinder, I will get the carnage started. Join me when you are ready, and we'll deal with whatever rabble remains. Oh, achievement unlocked. Exarch Act 2. Word has arrived that the Scarlet Chorus are laying siege to your spire in Vendrian's Well. The Archon of Secrets is apparently exhausted his restraint and has called for your head. Enemy forces are amassing, and few invaders have breached the courtyard of the Vendrian's Well Citadel. Repair the invaders and secure the courtyard. So, I am going to make some magic, and we're going to take advantage of lightning. Assuming I can. Apparently not. Frost, fire, illusion. Force. Life. Motion. Atrophy. Vigor, stone. Well, that's a shame. To the west, you see the shining spire of Lethian's Crossing. To the east, you see the deep ashen clouds surrounding the burning library.
I've got it.
So I might have taken Ebb, except that I want Lantry for healing, and then for the rest, that doesn't really work. So, I mean, in this case here, we're still potentially nice. A gang of rain-soaked Scarlet Chorus trails behind Deathnell, a mixture of awe and confusion resting upon their faces. What foul trick are you playing, such that the weather comes to your aid? I should thank you for separating the wheat from the chaff. The sight of seeing dozens struck dead by lightning made a good show to startle the deadweights. She points back behind her shoulder, leaving the bravest with the privilege of tearing your limbs, one joint at a time. She turns to her soldiers and lets out a primal howl, her warriors echoing the battle cry in dissonant tones. With rage in their eyes, the warriors ready their weapons, eager for a fight. Fools, did you not hear me proclaim the edict? Either I cast that edict by myself, or did so with the Overlord's blessing. Think through that very carefully. Do not liken yourself to the Overlord. Your magic may have startled my weaker troops, but your magic is nothing compared to my blood it's nothing my own blood chanters could not affect. Isn't that right? She looks to one of her mages for a nod of approval, but is met instead with a blanched look of fear, mouth agape in terror. Enough talk. You'll be trampled and forgotten. Only the voices of Narat will remember your name.
Come at
What am I doing on fire?
might learn something.
I don't know what the hell just hit Lantry, but that was no good.
As you command.
Nice. All right. So we should be able to do a bit of a cleanup job. This is Death Knell, so it's kind of appropriate to finish them last. Well, as much as I can. I mean, pretty much already done.
Right.
Reinforcements. And to say, oh crap.
Damn thing!
Will do. I got on it.
I did that?
Count on it.
All right. Definitely need to heal Verse.
You got it.
And Verse has got her new target.
On it.
Pity you won't enjoy this as much as I do.
Muffled laughter comes from under Aranos' great helm. That's right, you filthy peasants. Run for your lives. Tell Narat what you saw here. The chorus is running in every direction, scattered to the winds, as it were. Oh, if the few brave enough to stand their ground against your edict of storms are dead, the day is ours. Leave the cleanup to me and my brethren. You should take your rightful place atop the spire. No better way to savor this victory than with a commanding view of your enemy fleeing across the valley. There's really no way for me to go back out, friend. You have successfully repulsed the attack upon Vendrian's Well Citadel. Return to the top of your spire and regroup. Shocked and demoralized by your display of power and the ease with which you dispatch their leader, the Scarlet Chorus fighters lose their nerve and scatter in defeat. The survivors carry with them fearful murmurs of the powerful Archon Solon, a being of enormous might who can cast an edict with the same authority as the Overlord. Confusion sets in across the realm. Amid the whispers and misinformation, one fact remains consistent. The Overlord's power has been challenged. You safely assume that such rumors are making their way back to Kairos. The high winds of your edict sweep the air, dashing debris against your spire. Torrential rain falls, hitting hard enough to bruise bare skin. Lightning strikes the ground, endangering anyone out in the open. It isn't long before the storm begins to wane, slowly falling from a gale to a light rainstorm, and after a few days it becomes a simple breeze. Eventually, the skies calm as your edict dissipates, releasing Vendrian's Well from its grip. You gather a small council of your closest allies and plan your next steps from the safety of your spire. No sooner do you get started than Callio, Fatebinder of Tunon, pays a visit bearing an important message. I keep hearing about this little spire you've been calling your own. Nodding with a smirk, Fatebinder Callio peers over the edge of the tower. Now that you've slaughtered those who would take your lands, I think your claim is as official as it gets. Nice to see you, but how'd you get up here? Isn't it obvious? Callio shakes her head with an agitated scowl. The bigger question is, how did you do the most convincing impression of the Overlord Terratus? Sorry, the most convincing impression of the Overlord Terratus has ever seen. No one's entirely sure what to make of you these days, Solon. They all say you spoke an Edict of Storms, not a proclamation of an Edict of Kairos, but your own Edict of Storms. Your own mystical storm. You're no mere Fatebinder, of that we can be certain. You've proclaimed and broken the Overlord's edicts perhaps one too many times? If I had known you could do this when I first met you, I'd maybe have tried in earnest to kill you. I hope for the sake of Terratus you're the right person who has inherited this gift. Sorry, I hope for the sake of Terratus the right person has inherited this gift. I don't know what to make of you, Fatebinder. Proclaiming and breaking the Overlord's magic, claiming these awful towers. It should come as no surprise that an edict is within your grasp, but I still find room for surprise. You're powerful in ways that gang bosses and mages aren't. You commanded this place to do your bidding and unleashed something incredible upon the world. That isn't the work of a Fatebinder. If anything, it's the work of an Archon. Beastwoman will follow Alpha from here to ends of Tearsland, and further still. Will Paw prowl deep into cold north, hunting armies of Kairos at Alpha's side. Together, Shadowhunter and Alpha will slaughter whole of Prima's tribe. I still don't have any idea of how you're able to do this, but it isn't power that any scholar can wield. This is something else. You're not just some ambitious hedge mage who learned it out of a book. You're more like an Archon, where it just comes naturally. Callio shakes her head with a grin. I always knew you'd be a delightful bit of trouble, but I didn't think you had a touch of the Overlord's power in you. Why didn't you tell me? Please, it seems a bit presumptuous to claim the Overlord's power. I still don't fully understand this power just yet. Yeah. She chuckles, shaking her head at you with a grin. For a moment, I was envious of this power of yours. Then I realized I'm not the one with threat to the Overlord painted on my forehead. I come bearing orders direct from the Overlord. Callio clears her throat, her voice becoming somber and severe. Kairos has decreed two things. First, the Overlord has demanded that one and only one Archon is fit to rule the tiers. To that end, the Archons are to settle through death or dominance who is the one Archon fit to inherit the tiers. In the second decree, Kairos has decreed that you are the newest Archon. Fatebinder Callio bows with an exaggerated flourish. So the other Archons now have orders to control or destroy you, or the other way around. Her face becomes a beaming smile. See? This is why I try to avoid getting Kairos' attention. And to be clear, this is a command from Kairos, but not an edict. Correct. There's no edict backing this order. She smiles a toothy grin. Such encouragement hardly seems necessary when the task is its own reward. The Overlord has merely rescinded Kairos' peace. The Archons may kill and maim each other without breaking any laws. Kairos knows, rightly so, that enmities new and old will drive the Archons to mutual destruction. The Overlord need only remove the pretense of peace and watch the ensuing violence. Callio shrugs with a smile. Would you have preferred another do-or-die edict? What of the court? Have you heard what Tunon and Blood and Mark think of this? As per usual, Tunon has the emotional range of a pumice, but Blood and Mark seemed almost giddy. I think the old Shadow is already putting names on his daggers. I was wondering if Blood and Mark would hear this order and promptly stab Tunon, but no, it would seem the Archon of Shadow is happy to serve Tunon. Makes sense. I've never known the old Shadow to crave that kind of power. She clears her throat, voice growing somber. You will have to deal with them too, and I fear greatly for how that will turn out. I imagine Tunon is too loyal to bow to you, and Bled and Mark is too proud to accept you as his better. She nods quietly for a long moment. There is no way this ends well for some of us. I have a close alliance with Graven Ash. This order will complicate things, to say the least. Keep in mind, the order is that all must submit to one Archon or die, so you and Ash won't necessarily have to come to blows, but not sure how you'll convince him to bow to you. I've heard enough, and I know what comes next. The other Archons will bend to my will or die. First step is deciding you won't bow to one or the other of the other Archons. Callio offers a smug nod. I wish you the best of luck in your upcoming struggle. Know that when you come for Bled and Mark and Tunon, I and the other Fatebinders won't interfere. A question me and the other Binders have been asking. Can you do this again? Nonovial believes in you, and another who shall remain nameless takes the more cynical stance that the Overlord has a hand so far up your ass that she can puppet your mouth. You couldn't cast a second edict if you tried. She sizes you up head to toe. Me? I think I have it in you, or at least I like the idea of proclaiming an edict of yours someday. I'm certain I have it in me to cast another edict, but I'm not sure I want to play recklessly with this power. That sounds remarkably wise. Ebb lets out a long sigh. I think you can and should use this power to stop your foes, but as you grow in power, your edicts might remain longer. It would be a shame to leave an arcane disaster that haunts us long after the problem is solved. Considering the terrible damage you'll inflict if you screw up what you're doing, I can't blame you for being cautious. With a nod, Callio begins to make her way to the exit. When you rule Terratus, look me up. If you're successful, I know I'll be in need of a new Archon to serve. I know I'm mostly sober, but just so we're clear, you did just issue an edict, right? Landry taps his quill to his tongue, unsure of what next to write. First you cast an edict, then this full-on war of Archons. This whole chapter of the Chronicle it's reading like fiction. So Kairos has ordered all the Archons to fight it out until only the strongest remain. I think we can now safely say that the Scarlet Chorus philosophy has been vindicated. A rumbling mutter stirs from under Barrick's helmet, devoid of any cogent words.
Alpha birthed own words of power like humans prima called Kairos, is better mystic than Broodmother to kills in shadow, than Stonestalker's 100 blood, than Beastwoman Archon slaughtered by Mark of Shadows. She snorts and grins savagely. Kills in shadow knew Alpha was the most powerful human in all Tearslands.
A curved claw taps the side of her snout.
Nose was not wrong.
One last thing. Hesitating before she leaves, Callio taps the parchment she's been holding to her forehead with a self-deprecating scoff. All this talk of you being the second coming of the Overlord, and I almost forgot my duties. This is your court summons from Bledden Mark, Tunon's assassin. I suggest you read it carefully as part of your preparations. Your survival may depend on it. Good luck, Archon. Archon, we must speak before this goes further than it already has. I found something interesting in these chronicle fragments. When you have a moment, perhaps you can indulge my curiosity? I know you got a thing or two on your plate, but if you could make some time for me, a little bird has brought us some interesting news, and I'd hate to have to go stabbing people without you. Fatebinder. Archon. The Great General has pulled his troops back to Iron Hearth. She grinds her knuckles into her palm. Soon we make our final push into the Stone Sea in the heart of the Scarlet Chorus power. The voices of Narad is weak, and the path to cacophony is clear. She adopts a more cautious tone. The Archon is also aware of what happened at Vendrian's Well. I'm sure he wants to discuss the matter in person. I'll consider the request. I wouldn't spend too long considering. You've demonstrated incredible power, and this is a time for action. I'll send Ash a bird so he knows to expect you later, if not right away. Take care of how you treat with Graven Ash. You are no mere Fatebinder any longer. You'll meet with him as Archon to Archon, and such things are more complicated. Good luck. Fatebinder Solon. Unless I am mistaken, and I am very rarely mistaken, I detect in your words remorse. Empathy, though an admirable trait, is wasted on the undeserving. One profits from fretting over the fates of the seditious no more than one profits from concern for the pain suffered by the murderer consigned to the headsman's axe. Kairos has branded greater lands than Azure with the lingering effects of edicts. We celebrate such destruction. Celebrate such destruction no more than we celebrate a verdict of guilt. They are no more and no less than the currency by which we purchase order and peace. Thank you for your response and your continued service, Fatebinder Rogulus. I will only ask once. Kid, I take it you're aware of the Overlord's latest decree. If not, let me give it to you straight. Now's a bad time to be an Archon in the tiers. Since most likely I'll be the one to cut you down, I thought I'd first explain it's not my choice. But if it was, I would still choose to kill you. See you soon. I am slightly inclined to arrange a meeting, but I also feel like this is a really good place to end. So, call to arms. Graven Ash has called all disfavored forces back to Iron Hearth to regroup before making a final push into Cacophony to defeat the voices of Narat. Although you've declared yourself an Archon, Graven Ash has still summoned you to meet with him at Iron Hearth. And final judgment, Tunon has summoned you to his court to stand trial for your actions in the tiers. Interesting. So I'm slightly inclined to talk to Tunon first. That will do one of two things. It will signal at least some alignment with Tunon. It shows the due respect, while also indicating to Ash that I am not just a subject of his. In terms of Bled and Mark, I think it looks like this is going to be It looks like this is going to be a fight, so I would probably say arrange a meeting. I don't think say something cordial quite works, but we can figure all of that out on Wednesday. Right, and I also need to talk with my colleagues. I've got a lot of stuff ahead of me. But that's good, because that means there's more game for us to enjoy. Never mind then. And I definitely saw an Act 2. I definitely saw an Act 2 achievement. So I don't know how much more we've got left. Again, I was told that the game seems to end somewhat abruptly, so it could be the next stream is the last one. But I certainly like where the twists have gone. So some people very... Oh, hey, Takri! Did you just join, or have you been lurking? There was some really cool stuff in this one. And actually, I feel it's appropriate to say, through some gentle prodding for CRPGs, knowing some people like certain CRPGs, I'm definitely very, very glad that I put the time on this one. Oh, I'm sorry, Degree. Obviously, your time is, your time is your own, so I don't want to lay claim to it. But in terms of story stuff, I actually think there's some really, really neat stuff that happened in this session. So if you get a chance, I definitely feel like this is worth... I feel like this is worth catching up on. There's... I'm an Archon now. But yeah, no, I liked this when I first played it, but I definitely didn't get this far. And having now gone further through, I am liking this even more. Obviously, I kind of had a bit of a drag during the, some of the bits where I found the combat more difficult, but I feel like I've gotten a good grip on that. And the stakes have gone up. Again, all of the things that I liked about the game in terms of its setting and its, its ideas... I'm definitely feeling sort of aligned with, and I like where this has gone. So I'm actually really looking forward to Wednesday. I do have... So at work I'm doing some training right now, but this may translate because of the time I get out of training. I may be able to start closer to on time. I'll try and signal if that seems to be the case. But yeah, I'm sorry, Takri. I'm very, very happy to see you, but I gotta wrap up, especially because we're at a pretty good time to call it a night. So let's see who we can host. There's actually a few more. I always, whenever it's a little bit more of a quiet chat, I always assume there's like nobody here, but there's obviously more than one person. Thank you for hanging out. Let's... W. Shand is still streaming, and he's doing baby steps, which is actually quite fun to watch. So I'm going to leave you in his capable hands. This is Wishandless. So it's Will Shand, and then his other channel is Wishandless. I think Wishandless maybe plays... like whatever game he's interested in, whereas the Wilshan channel definitely seems to be more about some of the really low budget kind of indie games. Either way, he's definitely a friendly guy, somebody I knew in Vancouver, and he's the best available right now. The alternative is Ubisoft. So yeah, I will leave you in Wishandless's capable hands. I will see hopefully all of you on Wednesday. I don't know if it'll be for the conclusion, but it will definitely be for some big things in this story. Until then, take care.